Welcome back to another edition of Highlights TV. There's a lot going on and no time to waste, so let's get started. For over 40 years, he's been the soundtrack of worship at Hillsboro Presbyterian Church, and we want to celebrate that momentous accomplishment. So if you'll excuse the pun, we're pulling out all the stops and honoring him next Sunday. Who am I talking about? He's a man that goes by many names. The Master of the Keys, the Pied Piper of Perfection, the Bach of Belmont, the Right Reverend of Ranks, the Steward of Swell, the Contortionist Organist from Kathmandu. That's right. There ain't none finer than Tim Geminer. Come back for worship and a special reception next Sunday as we celebrate Tim and everything he's meant to us over the years. And Tim, in honor of you, I'm working up an entire set of organ jokes. Here's a little preview. How do you get $1 million? Start out with $2 million and try and make a living playing the organ. Join us next Sunday for worship and stay for the celebration for Tim. Join us for First Wednesday on February 5th at 5:45 as we throw a tailgate-themed party. We'll provide pizza and drinks, but we're encouraging you to bring your favorite tailgate dish to add to the party. Wear your favorite team colors or jersey. We'll play games and have a great time. Plus, you're going to want to celebrate the Titans winning the Super Bowl. Wait, what? I'm not saying that. It's Wednesday afternoon. If they lose, I'm going to be the one pouring salt in the wound.
Yeah, but if you're right, you're going to be like a prophet, like that octopus in Germany that kept predicting all those World Cup games.
That's true. That's our first Wednesday of 2020, happening on February 5th at 5:45 p.m. Just a reminder that Spruce Street Sunday is coming up on February 9th. It's where our sister congregation, Spruce Street Baptist, comes and worships here with us. After worship, we'll have an amazing lunch in the fellowship hall. More information on how you can help is in today's bulletin. All these dates and details are available online and in today's bulletin. As we head out today, we want to take time to highlight another one of the vital ministries we support here at HPC. You might remember last month hearing from Dawn Srigley about all the great work happening in the educational ministry down in Guatemala. This month, we're coming a little closer to home and learning about the Nations Ministry Center, which helps refugee families be generationally successful right here in Nashville.
My name is Chris Levingood, and I'm the Executive Director of Nations Ministry Center. It's our belief that we want to partner with refugee families to help them become what we call generationally successful. For us, if we wanted to look at it from a statistical or empirical perspective, that means that both the first generation to arrive and not be born in the United States, that they would be 200% above the federal poverty level, and that their children would also be on to careers that would at least place them in the middle class. The idea is ultimately for us, it's about helping people lifting themselves out of poverty. Refugees are a little bit different because they come with nothing. So they start at zero. We want that family to be able to succeed as much as they can with whatever capacities that they have. So it depends on where they're coming from, how they might see for themselves what success is. So in the last 2 or 3 years, the main sources of refugees that are being resettled are from the Democratic Republic of Congo, from Burma or Myanmar, from Nepal, and then it's sort of a smattering of other places. There are what are called special immigrant visas from Iraq and Afghanistan, which are a little bit different than regular refugees. So we have a number of Iraqi and Afghani kids in our youth program. And there are a relatively small number of organizations that have the skill or capacity to deal with refugee issues. Our interventions are responses to two forces of which we have almost no control of either. So one is, what are the needs in the refugee community? And what are the barriers that they're facing that they feel like they need outside assistance? We don't ever want to provide services that a family could overcome that barrier on their own. because that's taking away power from them and taking voice away from them. So there's that force at work. And then there's also what the refugee perceives may be different than what reality is. We had a family come in and their main request was, we need green cards. We haven't applied for adjustment of status. We're supposed to do that. We haven't known anybody who could help us do that. Person said, okay. So then they start talking about how we go about doing that. And we find out that the mom's about to lose her job, the dad's insulin, that's 6 months out of date, and actually the family's couch serving, they're homeless. But the perception that they had of their situation was that their priority was getting a green card. But when we encountered them, we said, yeah, that's important, but we may want to address some of these other issues too. So there's that set of forces. Then there's a set of forces of what funding is available to do what. We have grants and other sources that sort of dictate what we need to be doing, or what fields we can work in, or what services, basic services we can provide. And then we have from churches like Hillsborough and some foundations that sort of say, here are some funds, you do what you need to be doing to respond to these forces over here. So we get to kind of choose. So right now, how we're mixing all that together now is through 3 main programs. One is a kind of youth empowerment literacy program for refugee and immigrant children. We have about 110 kids in that program, which is 4 to 5 day a week after school literacy intervention and social emotional learning support. The child has been through pretty significant trauma and deprivation, and so if they're not able to sit at the table and be present and work on their reading abilities, then they're never going to become a 5th grade level reader, which is all the research says that that's a sign of future success. But the heart of it is helping them become socially and emotionally adjusted, and then helping bridge that gap between where their education had brought them when they came to the United States and the grade they're put in. On the other end of the life spectrum, we also have an elders program. So we work with primarily Nepali refugee elders. We have about 40 to 50 refugee elders that we serve in some way with case management, classroom experiences, and enrichment events. Our main other program right now, we were asking refugee leaders what barriers do they feel like they're facing in their life here in America. The one thing they all shared in common were immigration issues. We'd had a small immigration program for about 8 years. We'd had about 100 cases a year. In 2018, that went from about 80 to 100 cases a year to 325. So it was a major explosion of refugees, asylees, and other immigrants seeking to make sure they maintain their immigration status. Some of our goals, we want to expand. Our youth program is elementary and middle school. We have a small number of high school students that participate in a paid internship program. So we're hoping to kind of flesh that out into a more robust system of mentoring and support for them as they go through high school to prepare for what comes next in their lives. So that's one of the main things we're hoping to expand in the coming 2 years. And we also are looking to add additional supports to our immigration services